Welcome back to A One Story Teller, the channel where every story is a journey into the unexpected. Today we bring you a tale that will leave you questioning justice, authority, and the power of fate. It's a story filled with irony, twists, and lessons about how assumptions can unravel even the most confident individuals. So sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in this gripping narrative titled "Racist Cop Brings the Wrong Black Man to Court Without Knowing He's a Federal Prosecutor." The sun was setting over the bustling city, casting long shadows across the streets, as Detective Mark Reynolds adjusted his aviator's sunglasses and tightened his grip on the steering wheel of his patrol car. Mark was known for his brash demeanor and unapologetic attitude toward enforcing what he believed was right. To him, the world was black and white, literally and figuratively. His reputation preceded him as someone who didn't shy away from targeting minorities under the guise of keeping the streets clean. Mark had been patrolling the rougher parts of town when he spotted a man walking briskly down the sidewalk wearing a tailored suit and carrying a leather briefcase. The man exuded confidence, but something about him rubbed Mark the wrong way. Maybe it was the expensive watch glinting in the fading sunlight, or the fact that he seemed out of place in this neighborhood. Whatever it was, Mark decided to follow him. Pulling up alongside the pedestrian, Mark rolled down his window and called out, "Hey you, stop right there!" The man turned around, clearly startled by the sudden command. He was tall, well-built, and carried an air of authority that made Mark feel uneasy, despite being the one holding all the cards. "Is there a problem, officer?" the man asked calmly, though his eyes betrayed a hint of irritation. "You tell me," Mark replied, stepping out of the car and approaching him. "What are you doing in this part of town dressed like you're heading to Wall Street?" "I'm simply walking home after work," the man responded evenly, "and if you must know, I am a federal prosecutor." Mark scoffed at the claim, rolling his eyes. "Yeah, sure, buddy, and I'm the President of the United States. Do you think I was born yesterday? People like you don't belong here." The man raised an eyebrow, unfazed by Mark's condescending tone. "People like me? What exactly does that mean?" "You know damn well what it means," Mark snapped, pulling out his handcuffs. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back." "For what reason?" the man demanded, his voice rising slightly. "Suspicion of involvement in illegal activities," Mark said smugly, knowing full well that such vague accusations were often enough to intimidate people into compliance. But this man wasn't backing down. "This is absurd," the man said firmly. "I have rights, and unless you can provide probable cause, you cannot detain me." "Oh, really?" Mark sneered, tightening the cuffs around the man's wrists. "We'll see about that. Let's go." As they drove to the station, neither spoke a word. Mark felt triumphant, convinced that he had caught yet another criminal slipping through the cracks, while the man sat silently, seething at the injustice unfolding before him. Little did Mark know that this encounter would change everything, not just for him, but for everyone involved. At the precinct, chaos reigned supreme as officers hustled between desks, phones rang incessantly, and suspects waited impatiently in holding cells. Mark marched confidently through the commotion, dragging the handcuffed man behind him. Heads turned as they passed, whispers filling the air. Some recognized the man, others didn't, but everyone could sense the tension radiating off both men. Detective Sarah Collins leaned against her desk, sipping coffee, when she noticed Mark entering with his latest catch. She frowned slightly, recognizing the man immediately. Unlike Mark, Sarah prided herself on fairness and professionalism. Over the years, she had earned a reputation for being thorough and unbiased, traits that sometimes put her at odds with her more aggressive colleagues. "What's going on here, Mark?" Sarah asked, stepping forward, her voice calm but firm. "This guy was loitering in a bad neighborhood, acting suspicious," Mark replied dismissively, jerking his thumb toward the man. "Thought I'd bring him in for questioning." Sarah crossed her arms, studying the man carefully. There was something familiar about him, though she couldn't quite place it. Turning her attention back to Mark, she pressed further. "Did he commit any specific crime? Or are we arresting people based on appearances now?" Mark bristled at the accusation, but before he could respond, the man spoke up. "Officer Collins is correct. This arrest is baseless and unlawful. If you wish to proceed, I suggest contacting my office because, trust me, they will not take kindly to this." Sarah's eyes widened as realization dawned on her. She remembered seeing his face in recent news articles and internal memos. He was indeed a federal prosecutor, a high-ranking one at that. Her stomach churned as she glanced at Mark, whose smug expression began to falter under her scrutinizing gaze. "Mark, do you have any idea who this is?" Sarah asked quietly, though her tone carried an edge of urgency. "He says he's some big-shot lawyer, but come on, Sarah, look at him. Does he honestly expect us to believe that?" Before Sarah could intervene, Captain Harris emerged from his office, drawn by the growing commotion. A seasoned veteran with decades of experience, Harris had little patience for incompetence, especially when it came to handling sensitive cases. Spotting the scene unfolding before him, he strode over, his presence commanding immediate attention. "What's going on here?" Harris barked, his sharp voice cutting through the noise. Mark quickly launched into an explanation detailing why he believed the arrest was justified. However, as soon as the man introduced himself, stating his name, rank, and department, Harris froze mid-sentence. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. "You've got to be kidding me," Harris muttered, pinching the bridge of his nose. Addressing the man directly, he added, "Sir, I deeply apologize for this misunderstanding. Please allow me to rectify this immediately." The man nodded curtly, though his expression remained stoic. "I appreciate your apology, Captain, but actions speak louder than words. I expect accountability for this egregious error." Harris agreed wholeheartedly, promising a thorough investigation into the matter. Meanwhile, Sarah shot Mark a glare that could melt steel, silently vowing to ensure justice was served, not just for the man standing before them, but for every individual who had ever fallen victim to similar abuses of power. Word spread quickly throughout the precinct about the debacle involving the federal prosecutor. Officers whispered nervously among themselves, wondering how far-reaching the consequences might be. For Mark, however, denial set in almost instantly. As he sat alone in the break room, nursing a cup of cold coffee, he convinced himself that the entire situation was blown out of proportion. After all, hadn't he been doing his job, protecting the community from potential threats? But deep down, doubt gnawed at him. He replayed the events in his mind, searching for justification yet finding none. The man's calm demeanor during the arrest, his refusal to back down despite the odds stacked against him, it all pointed to someone accustomed to wielding authority and respect. Could it be possible that Mark had truly made a grave mistake? Meanwhile, Captain Harris wasted no time addressing the issue head-on. Calling an emergency meeting with senior staff members, he laid out a plan to mitigate the fallout. First and foremost, the department needed to issue a formal apology, not only to the prosecutor but also to the public. Transparency was key. Hiding behind bureaucratic jargon would only exacerbate the situation. Sarah volunteered to draft the statement, ensuring it conveyed sincerity and accountability. She knew firsthand the importance of rebuilding trust, especially when it came to marginalized communities who often bore the brunt of systemic injustices. As she worked tirelessly on the document, her thoughts drifted to Mark. Despite their differences, she couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for him. No one deserved to face humiliation publicly, but perhaps this experience would serve as a wake-up call, forcing him to confront his biases once and for all. Back at headquarters, the federal prosecutor wasted no time filing a formal complaint against Mark and the department. News outlets picked up the story almost instantly, sensationalizing every detail until it dominated headlines nationwide. Social media erupted with outrage hashtags, trending as citizens demanded answers and reforms. Protesters gathered outside police stations chanting slogans calling for accountability and change. For Mark, the backlash proved unbearable. Reporters camped outside his home, cameras flashing relentlessly as he tried to go about his daily routine. Friends and family distanced themselves, unwilling to associate with someone embroiled in such controversy. Even within the precinct, colleagues avoided him, treating him like a pariah. The weight of isolation pressed heavily upon him, threatening to crush whatever semblance of pride he still clung to. Yet amidst the turmoil, seeds of reflection began to sprout. Forced to confront the reality of his actions, Mark found himself questioning long-held beliefs. Was he truly serving justice, or merely perpetuating cycles of oppression? The line between right and wrong blurred, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty. As days turned into weeks, the scandal continued to dominate conversations everywhere. Talk shows debated whether incidents like these represented isolated cases or symptoms of larger systemic issues. Experts weighed in, sharing statistics and personal anecdotes highlighting disparities within law enforcement practices. Activists seized the opportunity, organizing rallies and workshops aimed at educating the public and advocating for meaningful reform. In response to mounting pressure, city officials announced plans to implement sweeping changes, including mandatory bias training, increased oversight, and revised protocols for arrests and detentions. While critics argued these measures didn't go far enough, supporters hailed them as crucial first steps toward progress. Amidst the whirlwind of activity, Sarah took it upon herself to reach out to the federal prosecutor, offering support and reassurance. Their conversations revealed a shared commitment to fostering positive change, inspiring her to push harder for reforms within her own department. Together, they explored ways to bridge divides, promote understanding, and create safer environments for everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status. Though challenges lay ahead, hope lingered in the air, a fragile yet resilient promise that perhaps redemption was possible, even in the darkest of times. As the dust began to settle following the explosive scandal surrounding Mark's misguided arrest of the federal prosecutor, the ripple effects continued to reverberate throughout the community. The incident had ignited a firestorm of debate, not just locally but nationally, shedding light on systemic issues that many had long ignored or dismissed. Conversations about racial profiling, implicit bias, and police accountability dominated dinner tables, classrooms, and boardrooms alike. For Mark personally, the aftermath was nothing short of devastating. Once proud and self-assured, he now found himself grappling with shame and regret. Every glance in the mirror reminded him of the person he used to be, a man blinded by prejudice and arrogance. Yet buried beneath layers of guilt lay a flicker of determination to change, to grow, to become someone worthy of redemption. He started attending therapy sessions recommended by Captain Harris, hoping to unpack years of ingrained beliefs and behaviors. It wasn't easy confronting uncomfortable truths about himself, but each session brought new insights, small victories in his journey toward transformation. Meanwhile, the federal prosecutor, whose name was Marcus Thompson, channeled his anger and frustration into advocacy work. Leveraging his platform and influence, Marcus partnered with civil rights organizations to spearhead initiatives aimed at reforming policing practices. He traveled across the country delivering speeches, participating in panel discussions, and engaging with communities directly affected by discriminatory policies. His message was clear: real change required collective effort, persistence, and unwavering resolve. Though initially hesitant to forgive those responsible for his ordeal, Marcus eventually extended an olive branch, choosing compassion over bitterness. He believed forgiveness wasn't about excusing wrongdoing, but rather freeing oneself from the chains of resentment. Back at the precinct, morale remained low as officers grappled with increased scrutiny and diminished public trust. However, amidst the gloom, pockets of positivity emerged. Inspired by Sarah's leadership, several colleagues formed a task force dedicated to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within the department. They organized workshops, invited guest speakers, and encouraged open dialogue, fostering an environment where difficult questions could be asked without fear of judgment. Slowly but surely, attitudes shifted, walls crumbled, and bridges were built. City officials, too, faced mounting pressure to deliver tangible results. In response, they allocated additional funding toward community outreach programs, mental health resources, and technological upgrades designed to enhance transparency and efficiency. Body cameras became mandatory, de-escalation techniques were emphasized during training, and independent review boards were established to oversee misconduct investigation. These measures, though imperfect, signaled a willingness to listen, adapt, and evolve. Beyond institutional reforms, grassroots movements gained momentum as ordinary citizens rallied together, demanding justice and equality. Neighborhood watch groups expanded their scope, focusing not only on safety, but also on building relationships between residents and law enforcement. Youth mentorship programs flourished, providing young people with role models, guidance, and opportunities previously inaccessible. Art murals depicting themes of unity, resilience, and hope adorn walls once marred by graffiti, transforming urban landscapes into vibrant canvases of possibility. Even mainstream media played a pivotal role, amplifying voices often marginalized or silenced. Documentaries, podcasts, and investigative reports delve deep into stories of triumph, adversity, and resilience, challenging stereotypes and humanizing struggles. Celebrities, athletes, and influencers joined forces, using their platforms to raise awareness and funds for causes aligned with social justice. Their involvement helped galvanize broader audiences, sparking conversations that transcended age, gender, and geography. Through it all, A1 Storyteller remained committed to telling these stories authentically and responsibly. Each episode, crafted with care, highlighted different perspectives, offering viewers a comprehensive understanding of complex issues. From interviews with victims and perpetrators to profiles of activists and policymakers, the channel sought to educate, inspire, and empower its audience. Engagement soared as subscribers eagerly awaited new content, sharing episodes, passionately discussing themes, and reflecting on personal experiences. And so life moved forward, shaped indelibly by the events that unfolded. Lessons learned, wounds healed, albeit slowly, and bonds strengthened, forged in the crucible of adversity. While challenges undoubtedly persisted, optimism lingered, buoyed by the belief that together humanity could overcome even the steepest obstacles. Thank you for joining us today on A1 Storyteller, where every narrative carries the potential to spark change, ignite empathy, and foster connection. We hope this story resonated with you, prompting reflection, conversation, and perhaps even action. Remember, stories hold immense power, capable of illuminating dark corners, exposing hidden truths, and uniting diverse voices under a common purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing with friends and family. Your support enables us to continue bringing impactful tales straight to your screen. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Up next, we'll explore another captivating saga, guaranteed to keep you hooked till the very end. Until then, stay curious, stay compassionate, and above all, stay tuned. This is A1 Storyteller signing off, where stories truly come alive.